The ones that are not corrupt are the smart ones that have not been caught. Okay? 2, we believe that the government does not have a moral right to exact any compliance from us. Because you say, do you love Nigeria more than I do? Just because you serve in government? You can only say, do what I say, not what I do. So we have another credibility problem there. But 3rd, we believe that government has to be very strong. Because you see, this is a disorderly society. And the only way to keep this society together is to have strong government. The one that places the emphasis on law and order. What does this mean? When people protest, you shoot them. When people say, we are pensioners who have not been paid, you send police to say to them, it is now a crime to have public procession. And you know, there are many of us who sit here and say, look, Nigeria needs iron hands. You say it because you have lost the capacity to believe that government can be run decently. God have mercy on us. Look, I can tell you worse, so I go to our second point. You know, first things first, when I hear us talk about statistics, I wonder where those things are coming from. They say we are 170 million people. I think that is fiction. And I can prove it. I don't believe that we have 170 million people in Nigeria. I don't think so. How did we arrive at 170 million? Not through any scientific means. It is because the United Nations Population Agency has looked at our population dynamics, the trends and the patterns, and come to the conclusion that at a growth rate of so and so, by the year 2016, Nigeria will be 180 million people. Let me tell you. If you are a researcher on Nigeria and you wanted information on basic data like GDP, GNP, per capita income, and so on, you would go to 20 different sites and you get 20 different data. Every person is speculating. So how can you plan? Let me illustrate this by giving you the one that is both comic but probably the most serious. This place where we are, I don't know when it was built. This place where we are. In the 60s. In the 60s. Thank God in the 60s. In the 60s, it was still possible to plan well with the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria. You know what they did? They had what they called a load analysis. They must know the consumption pattern and trends. So they come to an area, they map it, and they say this is a residential area. How much consumption are we going to have per housing unit? And they have all of those things to plan. And then they say to you, if in the course of time you want to bring in air conditioners, you want to bring in refrigerators, whatever you want to add on to the load, please let us know. Okay? So that they can plan to absorb the expansion. As we speak now, we don't know how much electricity we need to consume. All we hear about daily is how much megawatts we are generating. I tell you, if we even generate 20,000 megawatts today, there will still be a huge gap. How can you plan without data? Look, today you say so much money in circulation, the central bank or the Federal Office of Statistics 30 trillion. I tell you, if we have 30 trillion calculated from the formal sector, we have 300 trillion unaccounted for. Because what runs our economy is the informal sector. That informal sector has not become part of our economy. There is more money in Nigeria in individual hands outside of the banks than you have in the banks. Now, these are basic facts. How can you grow an economy when you don't have basic data? People say 16,000 people in Nigeria get cancer yearly. How? It seems to me that we need to get serious. We need to get to know how many people are born in Nigeria and how many die every day. We talk about schools. You don't even know how many schools there are in this country. I see on every street an international school. So tomorrow, some top director in the Ministry of Education is going to tell you that in Lagos we have 31,000 schools. And you will say, but has it been around? We need to get serious. We need to get a way of getting basic information about our country. If we don't have basic information, including how much crude we produce daily, we don't know. We just don't know. We don't know. We need to know this sense to get serious. But I have good news for you. There is a political scientist who wrote a book called Africa Works. Africa Works. You know what he was saying? Actually, there were two of them who wrote the book. They say, when you look at the typical African society, he said this society is not working. It's disorderly. It's lawless. But he says, watch carefully. You will find that this disorder is an instrument of domination. You already have enough work on your hands when the roads are not good. When the robbers and the kidnappers are on the prowl, you know, you don't even have time to think about government. You don't have food on your table. There are no jobs. Now, somebody said here, and I agree, it's known, these things are not peculiarly Nigerian. They exist everywhere, or they have existed everywhere. But let me warn, before saying it has existed everywhere. If you do analogy mimicry, what you call transformation by analogy, the one that says, this is how they did it in England, this is how they did it in Malaysia, this is how they did it in America, or to put it, you know, some man in South Africa, you know what he said? He says, they did it in Singapore, did it in Malaysia, they did it there, they did it everywhere. Why can't we did it in South Africa? Now, but you see, the didding is a serious matter. It's a serious matter. Nobody does your primary job for you. Nobody can develop for you. You must develop yourself. You have to know what you want. Now, we were created in the throes of globalization. That's what gave character to the kind of state formation that we have. We're a colonial state. Okay? And the limits of colonialism have bounded us to be at the periphery of globalization. Look, it's good to talk about developments in the rest of the world. They do the same thing in India. But you know the difference between India and us? India has a framework within which it takes and does not take. Is that clear? In place of our laws in Nigeria, today, rather than insist that those who give us darkness at our airports must be in trouble, we should punish them. We say, oh, this is not international best practice. How can international best practice take the place of our legal system? I'm speaking here. See, God must bless you. Let me tell you the other reason. Today, the vogue in Nigeria is to bring speakers from China and the UK and say, this is a leading professor, of something in some place, and they come to address you as experts. You ask the question,